Subject Linguistics, course title Pragmatics and Discourse Analysis, Module 17, Conversation Analysis 3. Writer Soumya Sharma, presenter Rajneesh Arora. In the previous unit on conversation analysis, we've learnt in detail about the concepts of preference repair mechanisms and topic management. We've also analyzed a short extract of spoken discourse and seen how conversation analysis is done on naturally occurring data. In this unit, we'll continue our study of conversation further by analyzing a dramatic text in detail. However, before we proceed with that, we need to know what is drama and why it is suitable for such an intensive analysis. We'll be applying all the concepts and tools of CA that we have discussed in the previous two units on drama. Drama, one of the oldest forms of literature, has its origin in religious rites and social ceremonies. It has been subject of analysis for both literary and linguistic scholars. According to Keir Allen, it is a unique mode that combines the following aspects: visual, oral, textual, historical, kinesic, ideological, vestimentary, etc. The dramatic text comes alive because of the characters, but more importantly because of what they say and how they say. Thus, it would not be an exaggeration to state that drama is essentially dialogue. In common terms, drama can be defined as representation of action and events through speech, that is dialogue. It is this dialogue that moves the story or the plot further, providing insights about action in the past, present or future, and how it affects the lives of the characters. Because of its dialogic nature, in the past 2 decades, drama has been analyzed by several linguists, so much so that dramatic discourse is a term that has emerged in the field of linguistics as given by Wimla Herman. Though drama analysis has been prevalent in linguistics, yet scholars have differing views about the nature of drama. Some feel that it is essentially a text, while others, such as Mick Short, are of the view that it is a text meant to be enacted. The latter thus focuses on the performance of drama, saying that since each performance is different, each performance can have slightly different interpretation. However, linguists as Herman state that drama is essentially a story meant to be spoken or acted on stage. It is a combination of the dramatic text and its performance. The dramatic text has permanence and fixity, which the reader can read, while the performance is oral, visual, and changes from time to time. Also, all the meanings and dramatic performances arise from a reading of the text, thus the dramatic text holds importance. According to Mick Short, drama has a unique structure known as the double discourse structure. In this, meanings are encoded in drama in such a way that the dramatist speaks to the audience or reader directly and the characters speak among themselves. Intentionality of speech can be assigned both to the dramatist and to the character, which makes character analysis quite interesting. Not only this, through this double discourse structure, the dramatist is able to convey a lot about socio-cultural milieu, the prevalent ideologies and values, and the psychological states of the characters. Therefore, drama not only teaches but also entertains. We will now see why dramatic discourse is studied. It is mostly in the form of dialogue or conversation that simulate real life conversations because of the writer's desire to highlight verisimilitude in the text to allow the readers to relate to it. Also, as in everyday talk, the speech of dramatic characters also exhibits pauses, overlaps, change in topics, speakers, repair mechanisms, acceptance, and also, as in everyday talk, the speech of dramatic characters also exhibits pauses, overlaps, change in topics, speakers, repair mechanisms, acceptable and unacceptable responses, etc. The language used by the dramatist is compact and precise because it is written text. Hence, the use of disfluency markers, overlaps, repairs are intentional and can be helpful in understanding the thought process and feelings of characters. Also, talk can vary depending on the context, that is, it can be harmonious or discordant. Like in real life, often what is said is not as important as what is unsaid. Moreover, characters may not speak as ideal participants exhibiting strict adjacency pairs, but their sequential distribution of talk may tell us about issues of power and how men and women converse with each other. Thus, drama is suited for analyzing various theories of discourse in the view of Vimala Herman. In other words, the language of a text. One gets to know not just about the characters but how the plot progresses and how various themes are etched out. In a literary analysis of a text also, one finds language evidence to support a thematic issue, but in a linguistic analysis one actually sees what happens inside a text, step by step, that leads to the theme and how the theme is portrayed in detail. Thus, the importance of dramatic discourse. Herman mentions that various discourse theories can be successfully applied on drama: conversation analysis, speech acts, politeness, ethnography, etc. As mentioned earlier, the study of drama can also be made critical by focusing on the power asymmetry among the participants, their varying levels of domination, their ideological beliefs, and how gender is understood in conversation. An attempt has been made to do so in the module by combining the principles of CA with the notion of power dynamics as exhibited in talk. We will now attempt an analysis of drama. The extract chosen for analysis is from Tennessee Williams' play Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. It is a conversation between protagonists Margaret, that is Maggie, and her husband Brick. The aim of the analysis is to seek how CA principles provide insights about themes, issues, and characters. Also, how language tools can be used to understand the subtle changes in power play in a conversation. The analysis assumes that talk is actional, that is, individuals perform actions through language. Before we begin with the analysis, we'll read out the chosen extract. We'll also number the turns in the extract. 1. Brick. I've dropped my crutch. He has stopped rubbing his hair dry, but still stands hanging onto the towel rack in a white towel cloth robe. 2. Margaret. Lean on me. 3. Brick. No, just give me my crutch. 4. Margaret. Lean on my shoulder. 5. Brick. I don't want to lean on your shoulder. I want my crutch. This is spoken like sudden lightning. Are you going to give me my crutch, or do I have to get down on my knees on the floor and 6. Margaret. Here, take it. She has thrust the crutch at him. 7. Brick. hobbling out. Thanks. 8. Margaret. We mustn't scream at each other. The walls in this house have ears. He hobbles directly to liquor cabinet to get a new drink. Margaret. But that's the first time I've heard you raise your voice in a long time, Brick. A crack in the wall of composure. I think that's a good sign, a sign of nerves in a player on the defensive. Brick turns and smiles at her coolly over his fresh drink. 9. Brick. It just hasn't happened yet, Maggie. 10. Margaret. What? 11. Brick. The click I get in my head when I've had enough of this stuff to make me peaceful. Will you do me a favor? 12. Margaret. Maybe I will. What favor? 13. Brick. Just keep your voice down. 14. Margaret, in a hoarse whisper. I'll do you that favor. I'll speak in a whisper. If not, shut up completely. If you will do me a favor and make that drink your last one till after the party. 15. Brick. What party? 16. Margaret. Big Daddy's birthday party. 17. Brick. Is this Big Daddy's birthday? 18. Margaret. You know this is Big Daddy's birthday. 19. Brick. No, I didn't. I forgot it. 20. Margaret. Will I remember it for you? They are both speaking as breathlessly as a pair of kids after a fight, drawing deep, exhausted breaths and looking at each other with faraway eyes, shaking and panting together as if they had broken apart from a violent struggle. 21. Brick. Good for you, Maggie. 22. Margaret. You just have to scribble a few lines on this card. 23. Brick. You scribble something, Maggie. 24. Margaret. It's got to be your handwriting. It's your present. I've given him my present. It's got to be your handwriting. The tension between them is building again, the voice becoming shrill once more. 25. Brick. I didn't get him a present. 26. Margaret. I got one for you. 27. Brick. All right. You write the card then. 28. Margaret. And have him know you didn't remember his birthday. 29. Brick. I didn't remember his birthday. 30. Margaret. You don't have to prove you didn't. 31. Brick. I don't want to fool him about it. 32. Margaret. Just write love, Brick. For God's. 33. Brick. No. 34. Margaret. You've got to. 35. Brick. I don't have to do anything. I don't want to do. You keep forgetting the conditions on which I agreed to stay on living with you. 36. Margaret. Out before she knows it. I'm not living with you. We occupy the same cage. 37. Brick. You've got to remember the conditions agreed on. 38. Margaret. The impossible conditions. 39. Brick. Then why don't you? 40. Margaret. Hush. Who's out there? Is somebody at the door? There are footsteps in hall. 41. May. Outside. May I enter a moment? 42. Margaret. Oh, you? Sure, come in, May. One of the first steps in analysis of dramatic discourse is understanding the background to the extract. For our purpose, we need to know something about the story of the play. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is a drama which takes place on a summer night on the birthday of the rich industrialist Big Daddy. It deals with the internecine conflicts in the family. It talks about a hapless marriage between the protagonists, the younger son Brick and his wife Margaret. Brick has a strained relationship with his wife, thinking that she has been disloyal to him. In the span of one night, the play depicts their crumbling relationship and Brick's attempts to mend his relationship with his terminally ill father, Big Daddy. Towards the end, Margaret's false announcement of her pregnancy foils the greedy attempts of Gooper, Big Daddy's elder son, to inherit his empire and also unites Margaret with her husband. The play talks about the themes of mendacity, melancholy, family values, and facing death. The play was a personal favorite of Tennessee Williams, the playwright, and even won the Pulitzer Prize in 1955 for its masterly depiction of an upper-class American family and Williams' stellar writing skills. In fact, there is even a motion picture bearing the same name, made in Hollywood in 1958. This particular extract is a conversation between the protagonists, portraying their strained relationship. Conversation analysis tools help us to do a micro-analysis of the speech of the characters. In other words, how the characters create and negotiate meanings in and through talk. Such meaning making embodies, traces, and reflects their identities, behaviors, and broader themes and issues. A CA reading can either confirm the literary analysis or provide new insights. A CA interpretation is subjective like any other analysis. Also, short extracts are analyzed instead of holistic textual literary reading because analysis using CA is quite intensive and detailed. CA pinpoints the what, where, why, and how of conversation, and therefore it can be rigorous and incisive. It can use CA independently or combine it with other tools. The present extract, which is part of a larger transaction between Margaret and Brick, has been chosen on the basis of the following criteria given by Pfister: topic change and the entry or exit of the characters. The lines are numbered for convenience. As stated earlier, a conversation analysis requires an understanding of speech acts. Thus, the turns are labeled in terms of speech acts or actions caused by interlocutors, that is, acts of questioning, requesting, refusing, asserting, declaring, promising, etc. Moreover, following insights from CDA, an attempt is made to analyze drama as a site for embedding and manifestation of issues of race, gender, power, and ideology. The present analysis will try to highlight the interplay of the power dynamics and language use, not in the typical CDA manner, but to show how speakers assume dominance and subordination through their turns and how power play occurs between participants. The extract begins with Brick stating that he has dropped the crutch as he stands in his towel-cloth robe. The statement is an indirect request to give him his crutch. Margaret acknowledges the request but doesn't fulfill it. Instead, she answers it with an offer to lean on her. Brick brusquely rejects the offer through the monosyllabic no and now directly requests for his crutch. Margaret again ignores his request and repeats her offer, which Brick in turn rejects, threatening to bend down with his fractured leg and pick up his crutch, and in this manner forces Margaret to yield to what he wants. The suddenness and intensity of the threat is in outright rejection of Margaret and his face threatening to her, which probably forces her to give in to what he says. However, her response is italicized by the dramatist, for it is repetitive and interruptive as she thrusts the crutch in his hand, signaling her exasperation and anger. The sequencing of the utterance does not show the use of strict adjacency pairs, as the speech acts of request, offer, rejection are repeated till one of the interlocutors submits to the other. Each participant is adamant, using dispreferred responses in successively longer turns, highlighting the dramatic tension in turn 1 to 6. As the conversation moves forward, we find that Brick acknowledges Margaret's help by thanking her, but his physical movement underpins his hostility towards her. While Margaret tries to downplay the outbursts, suggesting that they should not scream at one another, Brick ignores her suggestion, getting a drink. In the next turn, Margaret uses multiple speech acts while talking of Brick's lack of composure. Her turn consists of the speech acts of suggesting, questioning, asserting, commenting, and can be broadly termed as informative, because in one way or another she is informing Brick herself that the audience of her spouse's condition, while maintaining the undercurrent of aloof hostility. Her turn consists of the speech acts of suggesting, questioning, asserting, commenting, and can be broadly termed as an informative, because in one way or another she is informing Brick herself and the audience of her spouse's condition while maintaining the undercurrent of aloof hostility. Her turn seems to be divided into sub-turns. She addresses Brick, but he chooses to pass his turn, making Margaret continue her turn. Her suggestion is followed by his physical movement away from her. Her questions to him go unanswered, while only her comment at the end of the turn is acknowledged non-verbally with a smile. Her turn size and content is thus indicative of her rumination of her husband's behavior. Brick diverts the topic, talking about the click in his head, which happens because of excessive alcohol, but has not happened since he is not so drunk. The ellipsis highlights that this utterance trails off. Probably Brick is unwilling to continue the topic, and then he asks his wife whether she will do him a favor. The question can be seen as a pre-request, where the speaker wishes to gauge the hearer's mood before putting forth his request. Margaret completes the adjacency pair, but her response is tentative, not a preferred one, and combined with her counter question, it helps her to maintain her stance and undercurrent of hostility. Brick now puts forward his direct and face-threatening request, asking his wife to speak softly. Though Margaret agrees to do so, yet her reply does not portray her as a weakling. Her repetition of her husband's language and her self-deprecating comments show her sarcasm and firmness. Though the answers are preferred ones, yet the counter questions ensure that the disharmony continues. This adjacency pairing continues when Brick asks about the party and Margaret answers that it is Big Daddy's birthday. The turn construction units of their turns are a rephrasing of each other's speech, foregrounding the adjacency pairing and emphasizing Brick's apparent forgetfulness. From turns 15 to 21, the question-answer pairing gives way to assertion-rejection and assertion-comment, and the subdued tension appears to rise again because of the dispreferred responses given by Brick. The turn size is shorter than the earlier turns in accordance with their verbal combat. This is reinforced by the information in the stage directions. When Margaret's suggestions to Brick to write in his own handwriting on Big Daddy's gift is rejected by him, Margaret's turn contains a series of assertions that show her growing deprecation and fury. Alternatively, it can also throw light on her struggle to maintain her sense of power before her husband. Through her complex clausal patterns, she asserts, questions and reproaches him for not writing on the card, as Big Daddy would feel hurt. The preferred response of Margaret's reproach would be a refusal, but Brick's acceptance of forgetfulness magnifies the conflict. This shows how preference depends on the context. Brick's outrightly dispreferred responses reinforce the seething acrimony between the couple. Brick's rejection the second time consists of a series of bitter assertions that include his blunt refusal and reminder of the conditions on which he has agreed to live with Margaret, the latter appearing more like a threat when he reiterates that he agreed to stay on the condition that she should not disturb him and not behave like a wife. Brick uses directives that Margaret rejects, and when he questions her, she interrupts him midway, for she realizes that someone is eavesdropping at the door and asks loudly who it is. Her sister-in-law, May, asks permission to enter their room, and this is granted by Margaret. The topic shifts here as new characters enter and the transaction changes. The sequential distribution in turn 25 to 38 begins from assertions, counter-assertions to reproach, account, evaluation, leading to request, rejection, and finally to assertions. The hostility between the couple reaches a peak, which is characterized by their blame game, and it is only the entry of another character that diffuses the tension. Thus, turns 40 to 42 are a relatively neutral exchange that dramatically shift the topic of conversation and abruptly cease the argument and end out extract. Thus, turns 40 to 42 are a relatively neutral exchange that dramatically shift the topic of conversation and abruptly cease the argument and end our extract. Moving on from a detailed analysis of the turns taken by the participants, we will now discuss the other concepts in CA that can be seen through this extract, particularly turn size, turn distribution, turn order, interruptions, etc. The length of the turns vary as well as the turn size and order. Margaret's turns are longer, considering she is the one who requests, offers, and reproaches, while those of Brick constitute assertions and rejections. In terms of power, both maintain their stance, but since Margaret's turn consists of requests, suggestions, or offers, hers is a relatively weaker position. This is so because she is seen offering help to Brick, requesting him to not drink too much, and then repeatedly asking him to write something on Big Daddy's gift that she has got for him, and all these are summarily rejected by him. The turn order and allocation is more or less equal, with each participant hogging the floor. However, the rules of turn allocation are violated thrice at the time of interruptions, once by Brick and twice by Margaret, that signals their hostility towards each other. The turns of the protagonists are complex and rich and highlight their positions. Margaret's turns contain reasons, explanations, and evaluations, whereas those of Brick's include threats and forceful statements. With respect to turn construction unit, negation and repetition form noteworthy patterns. With respect to turn construction unit, negation and repetition form noteworthy patterns. Almost all of Brick's turns consist of the use of negation, as no, I didn't get him, I don't have to do, that underscore his rigid and dominant position. Even the vocabulary and the stage directions portray the acrimony between the couple through phrases such as a sign of nerves, if not shut up completely, it's got to be your handwriting, we occupy the same cage, etc. These phrases also point to Margaret's combative spirit and her desperation to reconcile with her husband. The topic is initially managed by Brick, but later on by his spouse Margaret, making each an initiator and a responder, and along with the nature of the topic, its management reflects the strong current of discord. Though Margaret is equally aggressive, yet the analysis of turns and its content shows that Brick is more dominant. CA reveals that talk is structured and that participants create and negotiate meanings through orderly talk. The addition of a critical perspective reveals that the conversation does not occur in isolation but is part of the socio-cultural fabric of society, interacting with indices of gender, race, power, etc. Hence, it makes for a richer analysis. CA of literary texts unravel what characters say and how they do things through speech. Hence, it can be relevant tool for understanding the mechanics of talk and behavior in literature. The analysis has revealed how CA can be used to understand the functioning of power and gender. Thus, it shares similar concerns with CDA, even though the approaches are different. The way people talk, what they talk about, and how they try to regulate or subtly control the behaviors of others, or how they represent others in their talk, can be known by doing a thorough conversation analysis of any piece of writing or speech. The analysis of drama that we've learnt is not specific to this genre. It can be applied on other literary texts such as novels, short stories, etc. Even non-literary texts such as films, print and television advertisements, cartoons and other multimodal texts can make use of the principles and concepts in conversation analysis to see how people are talking or writing and why they are doing so. Most importantly, a conversation analysis conveys how things happen through language and thus indicate the importance of the language system in meaning making, in interpersonal relations, and in describing or transforming society. We will learn in other units about the different approaches to discourse such as implicature, politeness and critical discourse analysis. CA, when combined with these approaches, can become a very powerful tool for commenting on social trends in the past and present. The utility and flexibility of CA is such that it can even be combined with critical theory to delve into serious and socially relevant issues such as the conversation with abuse victims or disaster survivors, apart from its original purpose of describing how talk and speech occur across languages. Thank you.